Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster my good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Friday, 9th of February 2024 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes looking at the latest news on the island. Background to that news, we got sport and business and Sea Watch, travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, Manx Development Corporation's loan facility clarification. Manx Care pay award rejected. The latest on the assisted dying bill. A police analyst accessed intelligence without permission, and the Ravens aim to make it 3 wins in a row.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai, Chanel Suku.
Fastamai. Police have confirmed a body that was found on Douglas Beach was that of a local woman. The Isle of Man Constabulary says the next of kin have been informed and are being supported by specialist officers. Off-island coach holidays booked with Tours Isle of Man this year will not be going ahead. It's after new owners purchased the company at the end of 2023. And Manx rider Marcus Simpson is aiming to compete at the Northwest 200 as a newcomer later this year. In international news, detectives are working on the theory that the Clapham chemical attack suspect drowned in the River Thames. Abdulizedi has not been seen since the night he allegedly hurled a toxic substance at a mother and her 2 children. Prince Harry says his mission continues following the settlement of the remaining parts of his phone hacking claim against the publisher of the Daily Mirror. And the Oscars are introducing a new award for the best casting from 2026. It follows a campaign from those in the industry to be recognized in the same way that other roles like costume, hair, makeup and sound are. Those are your headlines. News at 6.
Secure tomorrow today with Man Benham's private client team. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you, Chanel. From the Ronaldsway Met Office, you got strong winds at first. State of sea currently is a slight. Tomorrow morning, slight or moderate through the night. And this evening, continuing damp and cloudy with some drizzle and light rain. Lowest about 7 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, cloudy and then dry with a risk of a shower and sunny intervals up to 9 degrees. High water tonight, 21 minutes past 11. Low tide tomorrow morning is at 17 minutes before 6 a.m. High water is at 24 minutes to midday, and sunrise tomorrow morning at 11 minutes to 8.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
A pay award offered to Manx Care staff in the medical and dental sectors has been rejected. The Healthcare Board's Chief Executive, Teresa Cope, provided an update on negotiations at Manx Care's latest board meeting.
The offer made to medical and dental has been rejected. The offer to the MPTC NJC group is currently subject to balloting. What has come through from all of those negotiations is the desire by all unions to work to a 3-year pay settlement. It is really high up on their agenda. And when Manx Care was created in 2021, they were just coming out of a 3-year pay deal. So a 3-year pay deal is the norm and the expectation for staff here. Obviously, we have certainty over what we could offer this year. We have a level of certainty built into the budget about what we can offer for next year. But obviously, trying to achieve that over 3 years is more challenging. At this moment in time, we are not able to put a revised offer on the table for medical and dental colleagues, but it's something we will continue to work upon. I think the important thing, what we are trying to achieve now, is to at least start to plan and have the negotiations for 24-25 sooner. Yes. It was a great source of stress and anxiety to everybody concerned that when we received the 2% in the budget for 23-24, for, and we use that to achieve settlement for the previous year, we did not have the funding to be able to put a pay award on the table until very, very late in the year. And I don't think we want to be in that position again.
The Treasury Minister's asked to make a statement at this month's sitting of Tynwald to clarify and correct an answer he provided about Manx Development Corporation during the November sitting of the court. The story from Sean Cowper.
Douglas Central MHK Chris Thomas previously asked Alex Allinson,
can the Treasury Minister advise whether it's true, as often stated in public places, that the Manx Development Corporation has access to a £100 million revolving credit facility guaranteed by the Treasury?
In response, Dr Allinson said,
in terms of the rumours about a £100 million revolving loan facility, no, that is not currently correct.
However, the Minister has since emailed Tynwald President Lawrence Skelly to say he'd like to provide further clarity on specific details of the facility available to the organisation. He writes that the government-owned property developer does have a £50 million loan facility in place with Lloyds Bank and guaranteed by Treasury, with the option for this to be extended to £100 million subject to agreement with Treasury and Lloyds. However, Treasury has not received a request to extend the facility, so the value currently remains at £50 million. Dr Allinson goes on to say, I apologise for any confusion in the previous answers I provided and hope that the additional information I provide today will address this. His email has since been added to Tynwald's Hansard record, and he'll make a statement when Tynwald sits later this month.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Fast to my good evening, 23 minutes before 6. FC Isle of Man face a tough task to make it 3 wins in a row for only the second time this season when they travel to promotion-chasing Prestwich Hayes tomorrow afternoon. But Ravens boss Paul Jones believes recent results and the potential underdog tag this weekend could play to their favour.
I think we're always confident when we're playing the top sides, but certainly, a couple of victories in the last couple of games certainly kind of tops that up a little bit, doesn't it? So yeah, we're raring to go really for Saturday, and although we've not beaten Prestwich in the 3 times we've played them, the away game last year was a close 1-0 defeat, and I thought we deserved something out of that game. I thought we were excellent really, and it turns out Ben Wilkinson had a fractured hand by the time they did score their goal. So and then the game earlier on this season, we missed a penalty in the first kind of 5 minutes, and then didn't really get back into the game after that, and I thought we probably could have got something out of that game on a different day. So we certainly don't feel like they're miles ahead of us in terms of what the performances they're capable of or that we're capable of. So we expect to go and give them a really stiff test on Saturday. It's not making mistakes in the final third, in our defensive third. I think everyone who saw the games before Christmas, we were masters of our own downfall in many ways. So whatever has happened, in whether that's good coaching or just the players have got their heads together a little bit, or whatever it might have happened, it feels like we're making better decisions in our defending third. We created chances all the way through the season. We've created chances and we're putting them away a little bit as well. So you add those two things up and you give yourselves a better chance of winning games of football. So your Prestwich Hazes of this world, they're consistently at the pushing to win games of football, regardless of whether they're playing well or not. They dig it out a little bit, and Prestwich will do that on Saturday. We know that regardless of whether they're playing like a 10 out of 10 for them or a 5 out of 10, they're going to give themselves the best chance possible to win a game of football. And at times we need to just kind of do what it takes rather than try and make the game how we want it to look and feel to help us perform well. We just need to accept what's in front of us and find a way to get around that.
Concerns have been raised about the future of the assisted dying bill on the Isle of Man if it's pushed through. There are fears the bill could over time be changed or altered to allow other groups to seek to end their lives here. UK House of Lords crossbench peer Tanny Gray-Thompson and Dr Gordon MacDonald from Care Not Kill were on the island this week.
For me as a disabled person, there's overt discrimination, but there's also the low-level daily discrimination of people being told they have no value, they can't contribute to society, that they cost too much. I was 5 years old when someone stopped me in the street and asked me why my parents hadn't terminated the pregnancy, and having to sit down with mum and say to her, well, what does that mean? So, I experienced some low-level discrimination, but also I experienced quite direct discrimination. We see discrimination in education. I've experienced that. Discrimination in work. It just all builds up. I'm a really resilient person. But I've also had people say to me, if my life was like yours, I'd kill myself. And I have a massive amount of privilege in my life. I'm very protected. And if the assumption is that my life is really bad, had, then what about other disabled people who don't have the support and the resilience that I do? It's very easy to see that disabled people will feel they have no other choice but to go down this route.
I mean, I think our principal fear is what it will mean for people who would be in a vulnerable position on the island. And the thing to remember about vulnerability is that all of us at some point in our life will be vulnerable. There are also implications for the healthcare system. Can the healthcare system cope? What will be the financial pressures that might come to bear? There are concerns about what the implications might be in terms of knock-on effects elsewhere, because the Isle of Man will be held up by those who want to see a change in the law in the UK.
And one of the things I think the Isle of Man needs to consider is whether this becomes a home for suicide tourists, because it will be seen as a easy or convenient place for people to come. Recruitment, whether people want to be involved or not, it could have massive implications for people in the healthcare system who don't want to end their lives or don't want to be in this, but actually whether people will want to be qualified and work here.
Sea-Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
The motor vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 27 minutes to 3 this afternoon. She'll be into misty old Douglas Bay, gone 6 this evening and around on the link span about 6:15. Departing this evening at 7:45 for Heysham, arriving in Lancashire at 11:30. The 02:15 departure gets to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning, and Saturday morning's departure 8:45. MV Manxman heads to Heysham.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
A senior police analyst who accessed intelligence reports without permission will be sentenced in April. The story from Siobhan Fletcher.
Peter Michael Devereux of Selborne Drive in Douglas changed his plea to guilty during an appearance at Douglas Courthouse. The 56-year-old, who is employed by the Isle of Man Constabulary at police headquarters, used a database system to search for information on his brother-in-law on or about the 27th of April. The court heard his wife is currently embroiled in a long-standing family dispute with him about an estate. In his basis of plea, Devereux said he'd never divulged the information to anyone else and had reported it to his line manager himself. The court heard Devereux held a position of trust as his job enabled him to search the database without it being flagged. Devereux's advocate said his client had accessed the information inadvertently on previous occasions but had gone back to view the forbidden fruit. He has landed himself in these difficulties, he said, adding he was going through a very difficult period in his personal life, asking magistrates to consider a conditional discharge so Devereux has some sort of chance to resurrect his career. He said this conviction may well have significant consequences for Mr. Devereux. However, the prosecutor challenged this, saying ultimately he has fessed up and he needs to take responsibility for his actions. I would submit a conditional discharge does not send out the right message, she added. Adjourning the case until the 11th of April whilst a social inquiry report is prepared, magistrates told Devereux this is a gross breach of trust. Bail continues.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 17 minutes before 6, in corporate news, Barclays agreed to buy the majority of Tesco's banking business in a deal worth £600 million. Barclays will take over Tesco Bank's credit card, loans and savings accounts as the UK supermarket chain retreats from its move into financial services. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. And talking of Barclays, Barclays will no longer be providing direct funding for new oil and gas projects and will restrict lending to energy businesses that plan to expand their fossil fuel production. Barclays is a major lender to the fossil fuel industry, but it's been coming under mounting pressure to curb its support for the sector. According to a report from environmental group Rainforest Action Network, Barclays was the biggest funder of fossil fuel sector in Europe between 2016 and 2021. It provided just under £13 billion in 2022, although that was significantly lower than in previous years. In 2019 and 2020, the figure was more than £30 billion.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets moved lower today as investors digest the latest slew of corporate earnings and economic data. US stocks rose, oil was mixed today, and gold slipped and was heading for a weekly fall. The numbers from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 down 0.3% at 7,571. The DAX index in Frankfurt down 0.25%, 16,921. In New York City, the Dow Jones Industrials down 0.2% at 38,653. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index is up almost a percentage point at 15,942. The S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.33% at 5,015, and the trading day continues. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 26.3 cents, €1 17.1 cents, and 24 South African rand 5 cents. In commodities, gold's down 0.5% at $2,023 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude down 0.2% at $81.54.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Isle of Man Water Sports. Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Here's the relevant information for this weekend. If you're sailing, kayaking, windsurfing, paddleboarding, sea swimming, diving or surfing, sea temperature is 9 degrees Celsius, and the wind for tomorrow Saturday, southeasterly force 3 or 4, wave height 0.8 metres. Wave period 6 to 7 seconds, and high tide 11:36 a.m. For Sunday, Jaduni, the wind is westerly, force 5 or 6, wave height 0.7 metres, wave period 5 to 6 seconds, high tide 4 minutes past 1 p.m.
Manx Glass and Glazing are able to offer an emergency out-of-hours boarding up service. Call 491918. Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690-300.
The family of 21-year-old Lucas Martin, who died of meningitis last year, say they're proud his story has saved someone else's life, although they admit they still miss him terribly. It's after a local family revealed the story inspired them to get their dad's symptoms checked, saving his life. Lukey's dad, Brett Martin.
There's great relief for that family and great pride in the fact that it was Lucas's name that made them identify the symptoms and seek medical advice. But obviously the background for us, the loss of Lucas, is terrible, and we'll carry that with us going forward. But nevertheless, we have to say it's a positive. It's definitely a positive. We're kind of fighting a battle, is the best way I can describe it. Your natural inclination when you've got grief is to sort of sink into despair and sadness, and we miss him terribly. But equally, we know that his character and his attitude on life, he would be saying to us, don't be like that. Be positive, take my legacy forward, be happy as a family, live your lives, honour my memory. So we've got to win the battle, and that's got to be our mantra, really. Well, going back to the battle, I suppose it helps us win it. To think that he's still having a positive effect and will have a positive effect going forward. So there's the charity aspect, which is to help underprivileged young people. That's one focus, and then this byproduct, if you like, of people simply being aware that if you're getting persistent headaches and feeling tired and lethargic, there could be a more serious underlying issue, and therefore seeking medical advice is the right thing to do. So that wasn't what we set out to do with the charity and with the publicity, but it's fantastic that it's helped a family, and hopefully will help others in the future.
Manx Radio Sport.
Faster by Dave Moore.
Faster by FC Isle of Man play their first away fixture in over a month tomorrow when they travel to Prestwich Hayes for their North West Counties Football League Premier Division clash. The Manx side will be looking to record their third win in a row. However, the home team are unbeaten on their own ground in the last 12 matches. There are 2 changes to the squad. Ash Higginbottom replaces the injured Jacob Crook, while Jack Higgins comes in for Tom Creer. Prestwich Hayes currently sit 5th in the table, while FC Isle of Man are 13th. The big game game of the weekend in the Isle of Man takes place at the Bowl tomorrow, the Women's Canada Life Floodlit Cup final. Corinthians and Peel will battle it out, with the game kicking off at 5:30 tomorrow evening. There's a Woods Cup preliminary round match in the men's game on Saturday, with Old Boys hosting Gyms. Arguably the biggest fixture in the Canada Life Premier League is the Northern clash at Ballaclone between 4th placed Ramsey and Ayr United, who sits second in the table. League leaders Peel are away at Douglas Royal. 4th play third in DPS Limited Division 2, with Michael United travelling to play Onchan at the Niverson Stadium, which is a crucial game in both sides' promotion hopes. Rugby, and after 3 weekends off, Vagabonds return to action this weekend in Counties 4 ADM Lancashire Cheshire with a trip to Birchfield. The Manx side are third in the league standings, so will be looking to push on in their quest for promotion. Vagabonds women's team are also off island this weekend with a trip to Broughton Park. On island, the game between Southern Nomads and Barbarians in the Ravenscroft Shield has been postponed. Finally, hockey, and there's a full fixture list in all the men's and women's divisions tomorrow. There'll be an in-depth preview on Manx Radio just after the news at 6 this evening.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Runnels Way, Emeralds 4:20 from Dublin won't be in until 6 tonight. Then it's the 7:30 EasyJet from London Gatwick showing on time. 5 to 8 Loganair from Liverpool returning patient transfer plane is on time. And the 8 o'clock Loganair from London City won't be touching down till 9:30 tonight. Outbound at 20 to 5 Loganair to London City won't be leaving until 6 o'clock. That's the reason it's going to be late coming back. And the 4, Emerald 4:45 to Dublin won't be leaving until 25 to 7. The 5:15 EasyJet to Liverpool got away on time. Then it's the 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool showing on time, and the 8 o'clock London Gatwick showing on time. On the roads, Hillside Avenue is closed through to Circular Road in Douglas for adjacent office window replacement. Part of Switzerland Road's closed until November for construction work. The Millennium Bridge is closed tonight at 8 o'clock for repairs and maintenance. Reopening at 4 a.m. Diversions are in place. Temporary lights on Loch Prom by Tower House for cleaning the building fascia. In Cronkovody, on the straight there, resurfacing means some temporary lights. In Baldrine, temporary lights on the main road just north of Liverpool Arms for work on the tram crossing. Temporary lights on the junction of Mayhill and Queenspear Road in Ramsey for work on the pavement. Restrictions on Vernon Road and Seamount Road. Phase closures on Ballakill Ferrick Road in Colby. Temporary lights on King Edward Road in Onchan between Groudle and the A2 for trial pit work. Keandrocker Road in Andros has got closures in phases for water main work, and closures on the Ballalai Road south of Kirkmichael for water main work.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Quayside. And also, just checking on the matrix signs, Albert Road to the mountain is the mountain road closed. Hilbury to the mountain, Sulby to the mountain, and Bagara to the mountain, and Ramsey to the mountain, showing the mountain road is closed. And Hilbury to the mountain, of course, it's closed beyond the Craig. You still can get to the Craig. The Isle of Man is not immune from soaring costs for home and car insurance policies, but premiums here are still considerably lower than most parts of the UK. The message from the Isle of Man's largest insurance provider, Tower. Here's Simon Richardson.
Richard Hume, the company's development manager, says a number of factors are at play which have led to a huge rise in costs that have inevitably impacted premiums. The insurance industry has been facing a perfect storm. In respect of motoring policies, a rise in the cost of used vehicles, big increases in repair costs, shortages of vehicle parts in the wake of the COVID pandemic, and bureaucracy linked with Brexit have all taken their toll. A shortage of skilled EV technicians on the island has also caused problems, forcing many vehicles to be shipped to the UK for repair. The cost of sending an unaccompanied vehicle can add around £1,000 to the bill. The recent spate of poor weather has exacerbated an already strained position for repairers. Lead times on parts, badly damaged vehicles taking space in workshops mean courtesy cars are in short supply, and with the backlog of vehicle repairs, many garages are now looking at up to 3 months before they can book a vehicle in for repair. For home insurance policies, municipalities, the picture is equally bleak. The cost of settling claims has risen substantially in the face of big rises in material and labour costs post-COVID. Of particular concern locally is the decision by a growing number of UK insurers to no longer issue policies for Isle of Man residents, a matter that's already on government's radar.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
Women who'd like a birth debrief after having a child are currently having to wait 6 months. Manx Care says it's due to a staff member being on maternity leave and hopes to have wait times down to a month when they're back in May. Douglas South MHK, Sarah Maltby.
In 2023, there was a total of 40 requests for the debrief service, and the current waiting list consists of 25 women, which they say equates to approximately a waiting list of 6 months. They do hope to get that down to less than 1 month by May 2024. They've put that down to the fact that part of their team are off on maternity leave. So it's definitely an area you can see that they are under pressure on to be able to deliver this service. However, it's most certainly unfair on those 25 women who are having to wait 6 months. This is a life-changing event for a family to go through, and most of the time there's a positive outcome. However, that's not the case for all, and I think it's important to recognise that if you don't look after the mental health of the mother and the partner, then you might find that actually you're going to run into a lot more difficulties down the line, where that inherent feeling of a failure or done something wrong will just be there forever, and you'll never get over that. So it's important that they have a birth debrief to be able to process what's happened and to be able to learn from it and not be put off. There's certainly people who I've spoke to who've said that because of their labour and because of them not being able to process and talk to somebody about it afterwards, and so it has really put them off ever doing it again, and that's a really sad situation, and that's not one that I think we should be just allowing just to continue. There needs to be have that time with their parents to be able to talk about it and hopefully have a positive experience, and obviously then go off and enjoy their new family.
That's it for Update tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Suku, producer Amy Griffiths. After the news at 6, Dave Moore's here with Friday Sport. You got Greatest Hits with Mike Reynolds at 6. Howie Kane, Sweet and Swing Jazz at 9. And there'll be another update Monday at 5:30. In the meantime, have a good weekend.
WILD